we're back. It's a Monday. It's the 24th of September. It's 9:25 p.m. Eastern Time, and I'm Joe Chaffee, Fios 1 News Long Island and Fios 1 News New Jersey.
And I'm Joe Rayo, Fios 1 News Lower Hudson Valley. And
this is Jeopardy! No, that's not it. This is the Big Valley. No, that's not it either. I know. This is Hey Rocky, watch me pull a rabbit out of my hat.
Hey Rocky, watch me pull a rabbit out of my hat.
No, it's the Joe and Joe Weather Show, which sometimes is like pulling a rabbit out of a hat.
Yeah.
We are at the beginning of the last week of September. Joe, I've always said this, it's true. I think everybody should have their Christmas shopping done half done by the 4th of July, and when Labor Day rolls around, Christmas shopping should be rushed to completion, because we are now into the period that I find it just Labor Day to the end of the year goes so quick, and from the day after Halloween to Christmas Day, it's basically really one long day. It's just like you fall into a black hole.
Right, exactly. And I'm not. I personally, I don't want to be the gloomy Gus here, but I really don't look forward to any of this now. It's
all downhill.
You know, the very thought it is. We're going downhill quickly. I mean, I'm thinking about all those leaves that I'm going to have to either mulch or rake to get rid of between now and probably the middle and latter part of November.
Well, as do most of our folks that are on tonight are probably thinking the same thing. The fall cleanups are coming. Maybe I'm getting the sense that we might actually have something resembling a normal fall this year, because it doesn't really look like, outside of the odd day where we're going to be very warm and humid, like Wednesday coming up. But it looks like the pattern longer range is a bit different than what it's been over the last few years, where we get this big ridge in the east that parks itself until about mid-October, and then you just flip a switch, and then suddenly it's winter time sometime in December. But it feels more like this is going to be a bit more typical of autumn.
I'm just hoping for one of these Canadian fair weather highs to build over the Northeast instead of kind of shearing off to our north. Case in point, this past weekend we had noticeably cooler temperatures. It would have been nice to have a goodly amount of sunshine to go along with that, but instead we got stuck in quite a bit of cloud cover both on Saturday and even on Sunday. Sunday I was hoping we'd get some drier air and at least some sunshine in the afternoon hours. When the drier air finally arrived, it was not until last night. I looked out the window and all of a sudden it was clear. I said, there was that big, almost full moon in the sky.
I know.
I said, yeah, there you are.
We were cloudy all day where I was, and now, of course, we've got this warm front coming up. I'm bringing up the eastern satellite loop where we can see this low pressure system that is off the southeast coast of the United States and moving westward. There's been a marked increase in thunderstorm activity today in this, but the one thing I did notice on the visible loops, Joe, is that it looked to me that I could find at least two distinct swirls, two distinct weak circulations. This is not the most well-organized system in the world. A lot of the thunderstorms are to the north of the center. I know there's a lot of angst with regards to whether this might bring some rain to North Carolina, but I'm tending to think that even if it winds up, the Hurricane Center did say tonight in their discussion that there's a chance that this could become a tropical depression between now and tomorrow, but I tend to think that most of the rain with this may wind up being north and east of whatever center there is, so that rain might wind up being confined to the Carolinas. In the meantime, we've got our own mess that's coming in here with the clouds and rain moving across Ohio and Pennsylvania now.
Yeah, it's going to be a cool, and after midnight or 1, 2 in the morning, it's going to become a very wet weather pattern, and tomorrow morning's commute is going to be rather problematic. You may want to set your alarm 5, 10, 15 minutes earlier than normal, because especially in the lower Hudson Valley, where the parkway seemed to flood at the drop of a hat, there could be some ponding and some flooding issues for tomorrow morning's commute. That should linger into at least midday, and then from tomorrow afternoon into tomorrow night, just some, I think, spotty.
Yeah, because we're going to transition over into that warm tropical air mass, which will lead us to Wednesday with maybe a severe weather threat, and we can come back to that in a second. I just want to, on the radar tonight, it's mostly light to some moderate rain there back through Pennsylvania and Ohio. I'm thinking this could be a 1 to 2 inch rainfall. I'm not thinking you know, you're not going to wake up to torrential downpours, but there are going to be some patches of moderate to heavy rain that you're going to probably have to drive through if you're in the morning commute road.
Yeah. And again, maybe not necessarily for your zones on Long Island and New Jersey, but those of us who have been in the lower Hudson Valley are well aware that there are certain roadways, the Springbrook Parkway, especially the Bronx River Parkway, the Sawmill, any roadway that has a body of water attached to it tends to have problems in even moderate rain events such as what we're looking at. And so tomorrow morning we may see some delays due to localized flooding conditions on some of those parkways. And again, it'll be up until about noontime, and then the afternoon hours that should peter out to just some spotty light rain, mist and drizzle. And then we're going to have one of those nights tomorrow night where temperatures will kind of flatten out, maybe even rise instead of falling, leading us into a warm and humid day. Do you know that some people actually were complaining to me over the weekend? Said, "No, it's much too cool. What happened all of a sudden?" And these are the same people who were complaining just a week or two ago.
I know. I don't pay attention anymore.
Well, anyway.
We'll put it on the motion on the GFS so we can see what's happening. There's the low off the southeast coast is that little closed isobar there, and it loses it. This is why I really don't, might it develop? Yeah, but it winds up eventually just getting absorbed by this whole mess in the east anyway.
Right.
Now here comes the front for Wednesday, and this I think stands a chance that we could get some severe weather out of this. In fact, I noticed yesterday, and let me bring it up right now. Yesterday, Wednesday, was day 4 on the from the Storm Prediction Center, this forecast period, and you don't see it very often, but they had a huge area of 15% risk for the Northeast and the Northern Mid-Atlantic states.
Right.
Pretty much how it's drawn here. This was their forecast today for day 3 now, which is Wednesday. When you see it here, whenever you see it on day 4, you pay attention, because usually on the day 4 to 8 time frame from the Storm Prediction Center, they always put either predictability too low or no severe weather expected. So it's not often that they actually put a forecast out that far out in their long range. So I paid attention, and I think maybe we should pay attention here for Wednesday for the possibility that we could see some severe weather, and maybe we might get an enhanced risk in here by the time we get there.
I have no question of doubt that there will be enhanced, because as I've been saying since the start of the summertime, they have always been playing catch-up, they being the guys and gals over at the Storm Prediction Center. This is not a criticism. Please don't take this as a criticism. I'm just saying the way it has been, that we see, let's say, just a plain area of general thunderstorms, and all of a sudden we see
marginal risk, and then you see a slight risk sometimes. So I wouldn't be surprised if a little patch of enhanced risk shows up. We're going to be in a very unstable air mass. The dew points are going to be above 70 again. We've got a fairly strong cold front with a decent push of cool air behind it. The winds in the upper atmosphere are going to be increasing, so there just might be enough shear around to produce a few strong thunderstorms. After that, I think the weather looks reasonably quiet going through the rest of the week, the weekend, and into next week. Not too hot, not too cool, just Goldilocks, maybe like a Goldilocks period for a little while.
Right, and let me just, a couple of people, I'm a Met fan, and I have a few friends who are Met fans as well. A lot of people have bought tickets for the game on Wednesday, because Wednesday evening will probably be Jacob deGrom's last pitching assignment of the year. And of course, Met fans and National League fans know that there's a battle for the Cy Young Award. And if the weather is as questionable as it looks like right now, Mickey Callaway, the Met manager, may actually not pitch deGrom on Wednesday. He may wait until the weather is much better on Thursday, because if you start a pitcher on Wednesday and all of a sudden it starts to rain, you may not be able to bring the pitcher back. And I know that Mickey Callaway and the Met fans don't want to see that happen. So if you have a ticket to Wednesday's game, you might be out of luck. I mean, there might be some weather problems.
Night game?
It's going to be a night game.
Well, thunderstorms will be around.
Yeah. So you might be better served to, if you have not yet done so, maybe you might want to purchase your ticket for Thursday if you want to see deGrom pitch. I think it's a better chance of that happening on Thursday versus Wednesday, because of the potential for strong to severe activity late in the day on Wednesday and into the first part of Wednesday night.
I want to go back to that the system off the southeast coast. This is what the GFS does with its ensembles. it kind of skims the North Carolina coast and then moves on out to the northeast. So it's no impact to us. Doesn't really develop it very much at all. The hurricane forecast models, actually all but one now keep it offshore. A couple of them touch the Outer Banks, and then it moves on out to the northeast. So again, I don't think that this is going to be a problem here. I doubt it's going to be much of a big problem for the Carolinas, although it could enhance some rain in the eastern part of the state here for a short time on later tomorrow into tomorrow night. But other than that, it looks pretty quiet. But I want to show you something, because this I thought was pretty interesting, Joe. This is Typhoon Trami. And will it work? Yeah, let's see. Oh, please work. Yeah, it's loading. This is Typhoon Trami, and it's Super Typhoon Trami. The lowest pressure was 916 millibars. It's equivalent of a Category 5 hurricane for us on our side, and it is very close to. It's going to be nearing Japan over the next 4 or 5 days. And in fact, did I bring that up? No, I did not. Okay, so you know what? I got to find it. By the way, maps are the forecast maps you're seeing in this Typhoon Trami. If you want to see more, go to tropicaltidbits.com, click on current storms, and then scroll down, because he's got all the stuff on it. This is their forecast. This is how they do it in the West Pacific. Japan up on the upper right, you see it there, and then you have your forecast. 140 knots, Joe, gusting to 170 knots. That's what they're carrying at the moment. I'm just going to move this over so everybody can see. And it's actually weakens it
to only 115.
To 115.
Actually, 105, and then jumps back to 115.
Right, 105, then jumps back up to 115. And the track, which was also kind of astounding, we'll bring up the forecast track here. I'll just bring up the GFS ensembles. You can't really see Japan on this map because it's covered by all the tracks. It literally comes in the southwestern, the southernmost part of Japan, and then runs through the entire nation from south to north.
Yep.
The question is whether it'll be a Category 5 when it hits land or not. I am not that familiar with how things work out there.
Right.
But it certainly looks to be, judging from their forecast, I'm thinking it will be every bit of Category 3 when it comes ashore, and it's going to impact the entire island here later this week. It's just astounding.
Looks like up near Hokkaido Island, and then that gets spit out toward Kamchatka in Russia, the Kamchatka Peninsula. I'm wondering how many times they've seen tropical activity there, but that is astounding.
That's South Korea over there, isn't it?
No, that's the Kamchatka.
Oh, okay.
That's Kamchatka Peninsula.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
All right. See, I'm learning. But what's interesting about this, Joe? Oh, go ahead. I'll bring it back.
Oh.
What was that?
There you go. South Korea, North.
Oh, okay. All right. My fault.
All right.
And then up through the entire island of Japan, and then on up to the northeast from there. But one of the things that's interesting about this for us in the longer term is that sometimes these typhoons in the West Pacific, when they recurve, they do funny things to the upper air pattern overall. Right. And in fact, I'll bring up, this is the late afternoon GFS run. So we can actually see part of North America here. And of course, here's Trami's on the lower left at about 22 and 130-ish west. But when we put this in motion, when we look at the upper air, what happens is that lifts up to the northeast. This big low forms in the Aleutians, and that causes a big ridge to develop in the Gulf of Alaska, which in turn creates a very deep, monstrous trough. This is the way in the long range. This is like day 10 and 11 in the long range.
Right.
But it's got a really cold, deep trough here in the east for, this is the weekend of October 6th, 7th, and Trami winds up energizing that low that goes into the Gulf of Alaska in the long range, so the trough kind of locks in here in the east. So this would argue, if it's right, that we could see some interesting cooler weather in about 9-10 days out and beyond. Right. But just the big caveat here is the recurving, and also the fact that the GFS, we've said over the last 5-6 weeks or so, every time it tries to make a deep trough in the east, there's a ridge that's getting in the way, and it just kind of flattens out. Yeah. And that's what's going to happen this coming weekend, even though it's going to get cooler. But we're not going to see this big plunge down into the Gulf states and Florida like it was telegraphing about a week or so ago.
In fact, one of our co-workers here at FiOS 1, Anthony, is going to be getting married on October the 4th, and he's been asking us almost every day for the last 10 days if we could tell what the weather is today. I said, well, it looks like rain. I said, but don't hold me to that, because there's a lot of things that can happen between now and then.
Well, you know me, how cruel I can be. You didn't pick October 4th, did you?
What?
No. He said October 4th?
Yes.
No, that would have been my response. You didn't pick October 4th, did you? Of all the days you could have picked, you picked October 4th. Yeah. How many shopping days left for until Christmas, Jason Schaefer? So basically October, November, December, 90-ish. Right? 90-ish.
Yeah, 30, well...
roughly, 91.
30, 61, 24, 85. How many days are left now in September?
Well, it's the 24th, so it's 3 months to Christmas Eve.
92 or whatever.
Either way. Chris, you're going to Pulaski to fish next weekend. I wish I was going with you, but I'm not going this year. I got too much on my plate. Do send me some pics of stuff you catch going salmon fishing upstate on the Salmon River. Tornado update, Ben McInnes. This was in Ottawa, by the way. 80,000 people still without power. They had 500,000 people. They had an EF3.
The national capital for Canada.
Yeah,
Ottawa. Wow.
500,000 people on Saturday. Just astounding, really.
Many moons ago, for several years, I did the weather on CKOY in Ottawa, Ontario. So it was fun doing that. It sure wasn't fun this past weekend with a rare hurricane, a tornado. That doesn't happen too often, especially now in September. Woo.
Yeah, that is pretty rare. Rocco Fridello wants to know, how bad do you think? Because I'm not going to take this question. How bad do you think the severe weather will be on Wednesday?
Well, I think there's a fair chance that we're going to see enhanced. The general slight chance of severe weather. I think we will see an enhanced stuck somewhere in that zone, and the saving grace might be for us is that I think that we might not see the main line come through until maybe 10 or 11 o'clock.
It's possible it may come till after the evening, yeah.
Right.
And the daytime heating, how much we're going to get is maybe a little questionable depending on clouds. We're assuming this warm front plows all the way through, which it looks like it's going to do, but we've seen it sometimes where you think it's going to do that and it gets hung up.
Right.
Corey Bodziak, cold weather for us when they get a storm. Yes, I mean, you're referring back to now with Trami, when you get these recurving typhoons. Actually, one that really stands out for me was, I believe, was January of 15, where that was the winter where it really didn't get that cold until the middle part of January, and then it stayed cold till the end of March. I mean, really cold.
I remember
that February was brutal. But one of the things that I remember that got the ball rolling with that was a recurving January typhoon that wound up energizing this big low in the Gulf of Alaska, which wound up building a ridge in the west, which wound up driving a huge trough in the east, and everything just kind of locked in place for what was almost 8 weeks of brutal cold.
Mr. Green is on.
Addison. You have an early day tomorrow, Addison. You need to go to sleep. Or let me know earlier so we can get you on the show.
Would that line still hold as the cold front approaches?
The marine layer at that time of night.
Well,
I don't know how much of a marine layer we're going to have on Wednesday, but the water temperatures have actually cooled, so there may be a bit of a marine layer influence. that will get involved. So we'll see.
The magic line.
Boy, you and I have been together for too long.
Yeah.
West Pacific maps look too hard for the public to understand. Well, I grant you, Jason. I gave you guys kind of a quick view, but I did put up something on Patreon tonight. If you're a Patreon member, you can pull that up and look at it closely, or just go to tropicaltidbits.com. But I did explain this a little bit more, so if you want to check that out, by all means, please do. We're trying to think if there was anything else to worry about this week. As far as the rest of our tropics is concerned, Kirk is gone, so we don't have that to worry about. It weakened from a tropical storm to an open wave, and it's not going to do anything. Oh, this silly screen. I'm just trying to do something off camera while I'm talking to you guys and to you, Joe. But yes, it weakened to an open wave, and judging by the way the upper air winds are across the tropics, I'm not expecting it to regenerate anytime soon. It might regenerate quickly, only to get ripped apart a second time when it approaches the Caribbean.
There's not much more I can add to that, although we've talked about everything leading up to the possible severe breakout late Wednesday and Wednesday. And after that, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday looks wonderful.
We're in Goldilocks land for a little while.
At long last, yeah.
All right, good. That'll be a good thing. All right, let's wrap it up. It's a Monday night. Again, set your clocks a little early for your morning commute, and watch for some heavier rains into the afternoon, and for some thunderstorms later on Wednesday with the potential for some severe weather, which we will, of course, keep you updated on right here on FiOS 1 News. And if you want to read more about all of this, and plus I cut some videos earlier that you can take a look. I'm putting my Patreon link up, and you can take a look at them there, or I have some on my YouTube channel, and you can go ahead and give it a good look. I did a 50-minute video tonight covering all of this.
Wow.
So if weather's your thing, this ought to put you to sleep, if nothing else will.
Well, what are you going to talk about, let's say, Thursday, Friday, when the weather just calms down to
a big nothing?
A big nothing.
Well, let's hope it does do that, and if it does, I will take we'll take a breather. Of course, next week, I'm on vacation next week, so
yes,
there will be no Joe and Joe show next week, unless you certainly can solo.
If I learn how to start this whole thing up or whatever.
Well, we'll move you to your page next week, and you can do it there. I'll show you how to do it.
Whatever.
See, I'm doing all the technical stuff. I haven't showed Joe yet. I've kept it a big secret.
Or what I could do is I just simply take my little phone, which.
All right, but if you do it, look, if you do it on your phone, hold it horizontally.
I got something better. I got this actually for my birthday for my daughter, a tripod.
Excellent.
And there you go. So,
but put it horizontally, because if you put it horizontally, and you're doing it on your weather page, so if you do it horizontally, you can invite me on.
Okay.
From wherever
you happen to be, or whatever. Not like the very first time, or one of the very first times I ever tried to do something like that on my wife's iPad, and it turned out to be upside down. Remember that? I had an upside.
Yes, you had it upside down.
Yeah.
You'll get it. It was a victory enough to get you to use the darn phone. I'm proud of you, actually.
Thank
you were rejecting it. You were just shunning technology. Yes. Shun.
Yes.
And you accepted it.
Slowly but surely, I'm entering.
You were dragged into the
screaming
pit
and kicking 21st century. Yes.
All right. Now, if you can just go to a touch-tone phone, you'd be all set.
Right.
All right. All right. Have a great night, everybody. Just be sure to tune in tomorrow morning to Fitzgerald and Banson, Attorneys at Law. They'll have the morning weather covered here on FiOS 1 News.
And then if Addison Green gets a good night's sleep, he'll be up and about for the morning and midday hour, along with Brittany Boer, to cover the weather for what's happening then.
And then you and I will be back in full wholesale panic tomorrow night. Have a great evening, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow.
Bye.